Hello, and welcome to this week's Block Weekend Jam in Euler Room, hosted by Cleary and savamala. And today we have also Janeishly joining in the jam. 2 Strudel cells, one here and one here. And then also this punctual cell will be holding music. What wonderful timing that they both started at the same time. Such a elating intro to the set. This hi-hat pattern that Janeishly is producing is a syncopated Euclidean rhythm, producing 3 hit events distributed evenly over 8 events total. And Cleary's pattern, over here to the right, takes a sound from perhaps this custom import, samples.grabbit.com, the sample called Tupped. Both of these have a low-pass filter of 300 Hz, meaning that only frequencies 300 Hz and below are allowed to pass through. It keeps the volume low because we are not allowing part of the signal to pass through. And by filtering out the high portions, it keeps a calm energy. To the left, we find the apply function by Janeishly, multiplying the event into 3 events. As they change the sound sample to a new sound bank. The TR-909 is one of my favorites as well. Funky, where'd that come from? Cleary over here is doing some note arithmetic. The run function creates a series of numbers from 0 up to the argument, in this case, 5. And it's being used to select a note here, which is being a chromatic note in 0 through 11. We're constantly adding 4 to it, so that means the lowest note would be the 4th chromatic note, also known as E natural. This slow 4 pattern means that we're going to make the pattern run twice as slow, and changing it to 5 is a constant note now as opposed to a series of notes. So now we're just doing an F natural. The rhythm that's applied is determined by this pattern of truths. Is it a Euclidean sequence as input to the struct? Interesting. What does that do? The sound has this apparent filter animation. It sounds like there's an animation to the filter, but I don't find what's causing that. Perhaps this chop and the location in which we're sampling the tupped sample is what causes the variation in timbre from this cell. The speed function changes the rate at which you play the sample. Much like a record player, which has a tempo slider, when you raise it, it gets faster and gets higher in pitch. And when you lower it, like all of these, it gets lower and slower. For example, this is half speed, also known as an octave lower. Over here, janeishly has a piano sample entering the mid, and has changed that hi-hat sample into a rim. There's one snare drum in here. Oh, here they are. 1, 2. These snare drums are popping in every so often. It makes the mix feel extremely lively. It's such a delightful moment. Savamala is performing very clean visuals. They're black and white at the moment, and I feel like there's very clear definition, yet the shapes are still abstract. There is a lot of dynamic contrast in the grays. The screen is partitioned into maybe 30 columns, and they each have an embedded sine oscillator pattern, reminiscent of a Moiré pattern. Oh, the piano sample that janeishly introduced. It's also using, random this time. Well, it's also using chromatic note selection, but rather than a run of notes like we saw to the right, here we find random note selection. I believe this will choose any integer up to the value 8, which means we can take any chromatic note from C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, or A flat. That makes this good for describing both C major and F minor very well, because C, E, and G, the C major chord is represented, and C, F, and A flat are represented. And those are actually the natural, and from the monic theory perspective, C major and F minor are the relative major and minor, contrary to the conventional C and A. Monic theory shows that F minor is strongly related to C major, and C major and A minor are remotely related, but they are not as strong as C and F here. And janeishly has chosen a value which janeishly's choice here does provide both the F minor and the C major. It distinctively does not produce, for example, the G dominant chord. Change of texture. Really nice. Feels like a sudden time change. Something went way slower all of a sudden, and the background became red. So far, this feels like a very intimate performance, with just a few hands on deck. I think it does make a difference, probably too, in the mindset of the performers. Wow. It feels very fleshy. The visuals at the moment, they're very red, and they have this kind of pulsation still proceeding from before, but now no longer locked to the grid. And there's a lot of additive overlays and color blending. Feedback loops. This filter got raised from 300 to 800. I think that is the increase in sound that is such a dramatic new texture. Cleary is very conservative in granting audio frequencies. It's a unique performance style. I'd say that they're very consistent about this, and I mean, they know what they're doing. It's a very effective color choice. Bees! We got bees! I was trying to buzz with the metallic sound. Oh no, those are bees! It's a Euclidean 3/6, I got this. Okay. Super magenta. Oh, this is lush. I just feel like I entered a video game, but just the light parts. Very ambient. I feel like this is like 4 a.m. rave music. This is like afters moment. This is a clever idea to comment out some pieces while they're not being used. There is also the option of using an underscore. Are they the same? Yeah, I don't know if Strudel is evaluating but not rendering when it's underscored, but it certainly isn't doing anything if they're commented out, so commenting out is certainly the safest thing to do. Underscores can be useful for quickly turning things on and off. Savamala has introduced a twirl towards the center of the screen. This is all very spooky, Janeishly says. Indeed, low frequencies can have a spooky aesthetic if we don't have any light. Oh, we have a new guest. Hello, Ludens. How does this work? Ludens asks. For real. Wobble. We have new samples coming in over here. This is a sample named Wobble. We will find out what it's like soon, or we'll at least find out what the parts under 300 hertz and below look like soon. And the snare drum is still here too. These angle brackets mean, let's just talk about some of the pattern notation here. We'll look at this one pattern string from start to finish. First, let's describe all the symbols. This is an open angle bracket, the word wobble, exclamation point with argument 2, rest, sample wobble, sample snare drum, sample wobble, rest, sample wobble, exclamation mark 2, rest, sample snare drum, sample wobble, exclamation mark 2, rest, close angle bracket, times 6. Okay, so the outermost is this open angle bracket, and this angle bracket is going to alternate which entry is applied every time it completes a cycle or round of a pattern, every time it completes a pattern. So the pattern here has a length of 6 because it's been multiplied by 6. And the first object in the list of things to pattern is this wobble times 2. Exclamation mark here means we're going to double the number of times that we do wobble. That could also be a 3, it could also be any other number. You could even put a pattern in here too. The point is, exclamation mark takes a number as an argument. So after the first time we finish the pattern, the next time we come back and say next there's a rest. So we're going to do rest for the whole time. Then we come back and do wobble for 6 times for the 6th. Then we do snare drum for 6, wobble for 6, rest for 6, wobble times 2. So this is still just for 6. The difference is it's 2 wobbles, like over here, 2 wobbles that fit into the space of 1. They get compressed evenly into the space of 1 wobble. Then we get over to the rest 6 times, snare drum 6 times, and then another pair of wobbles, and then a rest. Close angle brackets means that's the end of this pattern, and this times 6 gives us the duration for that pattern. Experimental. Okay, we got some updates here in punctual cell. Sure, feel free to do it. Seems pretty. Oh, I lost it. Okay, well, maybe you read it. Ludens is here to jam on the visuals. And savamala is being considerate of our eyeballs, saying that we should keep it not too bright, which is an appreciated gesture, especially for people who are writing code while they're working on it. We have a new sample over here called Rash. Oh, Rash! When I was moving out of Bushwick, there was a new club open called Rash. It's one of the few places I heard jungle music in Bushwick. It was on Myrtle Avenue, right down the street from Bossa Nova Civic Club. Unfortunately, it burned down, like Bossa Nova Civic Club. We have a Rash sample here, performed 1 time in the pattern, once every 8 events. This is a catchy beat. The echo effect is doing a note echo. This is not the same as delay. Echo creates copies of the note event. Delay creates copies of the produced audio. So echo is a pre-synthesis filter, and delay is a post-synthesis filter. Computationally, delay is cheaper, but echo gives you a lot more liberty on how you can transform the note before you render it. Oh, this beat is very pleasing. It's very chill. It has a lot of dynamics to it. I feel the drums are swaying in and out. Much like the fibers of this viz. I feel like we're getting different scales of resolution, and we're morphing between them. Traversing some Riemann surface improvised by Ludens and savamala. Organ. JPads! Oh, we love our JPads. Nap breaks. Jungle Bleep. We got some new samples in. Alright. Yeah, here is an example of using underscore to silence some part. In this case, the wobbles have been silenced. kick drum is really, it feels very hip-hop to me. It's because it has a slower cadence, it has a halftime sensation. This is a very intimate mix. I'm going to spend more time listening and enjoying today. I spent a lot of energy working on a music project and getting it out shared with the world. And I just want to chill with this music today. So thank you, Janeishly and Cleary, for being so kind to be here to serenade us. You serenade me. Welcome, ludens. I hope that you come back because your jam with savamala is spicing things up in just a new way that wouldn't have happened without you. All these fiber bundles, so beautiful. One, two, three, four, and... Sea of red. This is a funky sample that's coming from here. I can tell because it lights up when the sound happens. Funky as in like reminiscent of funk music. It has this organ-like, Rhodes organ-like sound with a moving, with a high resonance peak. This No Amson 112. Oh, that's it sounds like some clipping. I think it's the drum, actually. Got a complex rhythm here, this 9 against 16 pattern. KH breaks has a very acoustic sound. It sounds like clapping on your thighs or clapping with your hands. Janeishly's using one of my favorite functions, the post-game function, This is how you know you're a pro producer, in my opinion. I jest. We all have our preferences. But I am pretty finicky about volume management, and post gain is the last thing that you do. It's the final knob in the chain. This clap is nice. We got a Euclidean jam now. It's a full-on Euclidean jam. All it takes is 2. We have 11 against 16 with 9 against 16. 2 odd numbers, one of which is prime. The piano line is doing a clockwork rhythm that has a uniform distribution of note events. But these two, the 9 and 11 patterns, do not have a uniform distribution of note events. The downside of using this sample is we are pretty constricted. We have a very percussive heavy mix right now because depending on samples means that we have less control over the musical notes, like the scales and the chords that you can use. If anyone listening would like an interactive way of finding good groups of chords, I made an interactive circle of fifths mini game. It's kind of a game. It's a small set of rules that you can use to create a short chord progression that will sound very conventional. And you can then write that into Strudel or into your digital audio workstation or however you make music. I hope it can help you start to see some patterns or understand some shapes and structures that we use in music. The viz now starts to look like you're standing at the surface of something and there's a big hole coming up. You're standing on a big pink, it was red, almost like a canyon, and now we've turned into pink canyon. Very tribal is the word that I would use to describe the current sound, and that's because of the complex rhythms and the dominance of this KH breaks low percussion sample that has a very deep resonance, which is evocative of djembe or low toms or other instruments that we imagine to be associated with tribes. Well, sir! Yes, you lob your strings, right? I lob my strings all over the place. But, cleary, courageously using the all function. It might be cut off from your view at the bottom of the screen. But cleary is putting reverb on everything, sending everything to space, while janeishly is so wisely over here mixing this air horn. Cleary is taking us out to the depths of Mars. I would say just Mars because it's just room 2. We didn't go that far. It's still in the neighborhood of, the solar system. There is Alpha Centauri, or Betelgeuse, or the other side of the universe. Oh, that's where savamala and ludens took us. We're there. Brave. The air horn's really fun to me. It definitely gives it very ravey vibes. That plus this 4-to-the-floor kick drum over here. Yeah, janeishly definitely dropped the rave lines. 4 lines of code to make a rave. All you need is a bass drum, hi-hats, air horn, and some keys. Who knew? Oh, stick a saw on every beat, of course. Hey, janeishly is now performing this low-pass filter trick, the same one that Cleary opened with. They had started with 400, then 700, and now we will get a pattern so that this air horn will be alternating between a low-pass filter cutoff of 700 Hz and 1500 Hz. 700, 1500, 700, 1500. Bro! I don't even have to look for that one. I like the sound, it's a cool chord progression. I think it's also being modulated here by the speed, so you can do some harmonic things, like we have the octave here. 7/5. I'm not sure if that would be a fifth relationship from unity or tritone in linear space. Because frequency is logarithmic. So speed is a linear function. That's why that's why halving is an octave, for example. Oh, nice. It got super messy and then immediately cleaned up. That was super cool. Hey, it's the dingoes of Australia breaks. Air horn, my favorite! I feel like right now is like if Danny Elfman was a DJ, this is what Danny Elfman would produce. Let's do a sound check of the spectral domain from lowest to highest. What's in the bass frequency? We have not that much actually. I would say the kick drum here, this bass drum is low mid, but it's not, for example, in the 40 Hz to 50 Hz range. It instead sits at the 70 to 90 Hz range. It is still the most bass of all the samples, so if we wanted to fill in the mix more, there's something you could do in the sub-bass register in that lowest octave. There is room there for more content. Above that was this instrument that is now less easy to hear than before, but it was in the mid-range. Above that is the air horn, which is in the high mids, and this hi-hat is beautiful and in the highest registers. The mix is pretty even overall. There isn't a competition among the registers. It does feel sparse. We could probably even fill in some registers with additional content or introduce that sub bass. It's not a bad mix though. And the content's really groovy. And the mixing itself does have consideration. So the difference between the mix and the mixing, I was describing the mix as just like everything altogether. And the mixing is the deliberate. Mixing is the distinguished and deliberate process of, for example, setting post gain on each sample here. So janeishly has deliberately done a post gain on every line, but we don't find any over here, which means all of Cleary's samples have volume as an emergent property, but all of janeishly's productions have volume as a controlled property. So Cleary's productions, the volume emerges because of the way the sample has been filtered, for example, by a low pass frequency, or because it was chopped up. And those transformations do attenuate or reduce the volume. But we don't necessarily have a numeric way of representing that without doing some more complex analysis, which would be too much for here. So instead, I offer the post-gain function that janeishly is using, where maybe actually if things got filtered too much, post-gain is the appropriate way to turn it back up. You could do post-gain 1.5 if you take out a lot of filtered content, for example, and you want to raise the amplitude back up to an audible register. That's a nice melody. Bum, ba-dum, boom. Over here, the Vibrasoft saw the D minor. Okay, so I want to clarify that now that we have selected a scale, we call this scale function. Now it's not just random chromatic notes. Now we're selecting from a scale. And generally this is going to be a more conventional choice to produce conventional melodies and harmonies compared to chromatic indexing. The gamut of notes went from a 12 down to 7. That means there are 7 notes that are more commonly related, that have a more functional harmonic structure in their relationships to one another, their frequency components, in a scale like D minor compared to random 7 selection out of the full chromatic gamut. The rhythm here is provided by struct patterning, a true and false with X, rest, X, rest, rest, X, rest, X. 8 events, 4 hits, but they're not even. The first half is on the beat and the second half is syncopated. But there's these additional calls, dot last of, which does some temporal modulation, offsetting it by the cycle count. And now also doing some chromatic harmonic relationships, transposing it by these chromatic indices. So even though it uses the scale value, this beat is so good, I can't ignore it. even though it uses a scale for the note selection, the transpose function still takes chromatic indexing. So it's good that janeishly is aware of this, and it's obvious because they've chosen the well-known values of octaves and fifths. Those are the only components here except for ending on a fourth. This beat is the combination of... Oh no, Midas Touch is currently underscored, so it's not being performed. It's just the break core, DOA breaks, as I affectionately refer to as the dingoes of Australia. The beat's about as cute as a dingo. Oh, nice. This sample pack must have at least 2 entries, presumably at least 8. And it alternates between these 2 entries, 7 and 8, which is how we're getting a pattern of drum beats that are A section, B section. A, B. Although I identify this as the A section as the dominant one, this is definitely the secondary response. 8 is the strong call. 7 is a mid-range response. 8 is a low range on the beat. Oh, however, there is also this last of reverse effect going on. Last of 8 cycles, perhaps? Goodness, so is Strudel code. To learn. Air horn's back! The background has taken on not quite a pixelated look. It's higher resolution than pixelation. It has a vintage aesthetic. Oh yeah. BKS. Drop it. Aww. So sweet. It was too loud, so janeishly turned it down. It's true, you should be careful, or at least do exactly that. You don't want to shock ears. Literally speaking, you don't want to create that drastic of an amplitude change for a sustained period. Really, at all, which is why you want to be careful introducing new elements, or do so in a way that you are entirely sure is safe for the ears. Remember to bring your earplugs to the algo rave. It's okay and good to wear earplugs. nice swing to it. Where'd that come from? Oh, this swing by function. Yes. Oh yeah, thank you, janeishly, for reminding me to use that. That's a really good one. It's really good. Probably, like, half of your things should have a swing by on it. And they should each have a different swing amount. Small harmonic values like 1/4 are perfect. 1/8, 1/6, and 1/3 are also good. 1/5, 2/5 is good. 2/3 is probably the max. Two over 7 or 3/7 might be nice. Yeah, so basically, you know, those that I mentioned are all a great place to start and just grab like 3 or 4 of those and put it on everything in one track. For example, if you're producing a track with, say, 8 or 10 concurrent parts, and you have swing on 4 or 5 of them with a varying amount of swing, you're going to put, for one, you're going to put a lot of open space for everything, so that everything is going to have its own moment in time when it has a downbeat, when it has a transient, a clear transient. You're also going to kind of smear or spread out every beat or every event landing, assuming that all the tracks have some semblance of being in the same rhythmic patterns, the same general rhythm space, right? It's not a bunch of random rhythms, it's not a bunch of deliberately contrasting rhythms. They're all rhythms designed to cooperate in the same harmonic grid, rhythmic grid. And so if those conditions are true, then we'll find a clear rhythmic grid that's actually more visible because it's been widened. It's almost like you have goalposts. You can imagine some goalposts for a ball game, and they just get a little bit wider and easier to pass through, easier to hit. It's kind of the same thing happening here with the beat and time. The thing hitting it is your eardrum. It's hitting your eardrum, actually. The sound is. And it's hitting your eardrum with a longer duration of milliseconds, a longer period. Whenever you do this kind of swing-by effect. With a variety of values on a number of tracks in a project. Food for thought. These are some nice samples. We have some words. A new Livecoder has entered the chat, this time on a Strudel cell. Well, welcome, White One. Algorithm. Against algorithm. Algorithm generation. 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 Against algorithm. This is a really cute moment. I've been enjoying this really mid-range sound. Let's do a spectral sweep from lowest to highest. This time I think there's just a bit more in that sub-bass register. It's hard to tell where it's coming from. It sounds like an organ. I love this. On, off. Oh my goodness. This is my new favorite sample. Oh. Ah. I'm stuck. Wow, none of the visuals feel very, they're very geometric and sort of, you can imagine, Indian intricate geometric patterns or Arabic geometric patterns, maybe some Incan or Mayan patterns. It has somewhat kaleidoscopic components, but it's also got repetitions and oscillations. There does seem to be a left-right visual weight, the right being the source, the main source, and the left-hand side being more prone to fading away or disappearing. Oh wow, yet another new random participant. This one labeled sadngry-horse. Welcome, mid-jam guests. Did we finish the sound sweep? Sorry, okay, so the low register, there is still this organ sound going from low to high. Maybe it's lower. Bum bum. Bum 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 bum. It's that thing, is the low register. Above that we have, I think PD breaks, one of the drum samples, and also this bass drum. In the low mid, we have the voice begins to enter, like right now. The voice has also been, janeishly has been resampling it to higher octaves as well, using the speed function, the same function Cleary uses here, and elsewhere earlier. In the highs, there's not really a lot of highs, which is what makes it feel like not a jarring, not an energetic mix. There's not It's not boring, don't get me wrong. It's not a bad mix. It's not energetic though. This feels like something I could sway to. I would be jamming along, probably daydreaming. If I were on the dance floor with this. With me and sadngry-horse. Aww, so cute. Is that air horn? Someone put a crush effect. They did an all crush. It's in the bottom left. Cleary with their all calls again. Is crushing it. 2.0. It is air horn! Oh, air horn with crow. What a pair. Cleary also likes air horn. Wow, janeishly really bringing in the rave. Wow, the visuals no longer appear to be left-right distinction. It's doing some mirror flips sometimes. It is got some cool quantizing. It seems like it's got a lot more rectangular flipping or sampling going on. Still red. It's been very red the entire time. Red is a nice color. It's very easy on the eyes. Also great mood lighting. Yeah, there are a lot of magentas. We didn't get so many outright blues. I appreciate that. I don't even remember greens so much this time. We did open with grayscale. Oh, we're closing. Thank you, janeishly, savamala, everyone. If you would like to join in, you can do so next weekend.